What's up guys, welcome to my channel The Chem Club, where I generally discuss about the topics which are related to chemistry and that can be from within or outside the syllabuses for classes 9 to 12. So for today I'm going to discuss or rather say merge two topics, periodic table and the atomic structure, or rather specifically we should say the quantum mechanical model, as because merging of these two gives a proper idea of the physical and the chemical properties of an element. How? So, I promised you all in my previous video that I'll discuss more about, we have to unleash more about the periodic table, periodic properties, okay. But for that we had to know about the atomic structure quite well. So for that we have to dig into the quantum mechanical model of an atom, as because this is quite realistic. This particular model is quite realistic approach towards the atomic structure for determining the chemical and physical properties. It just not only gives an idea of how can atom look like or what can atom consist of, but it can also give an insight, a proper insight of the physical and the chemical properties of an atom. So basically we had to dig deep into it. But we also know that the periodic table somewhat serves as a reference chart for us to refer that what can be the range of the physical and the chemical property of an element. Okay. When the model and the reference chart are merged together, they give a proper insight into properties. So we should know about some principles which can determine the electron configuration of atom and thus make it easier for you all to understand periodic properties easily. Now it's a time to determine how to place electron in an atom if it is thought of as a quantum mechanical model. See, the electrons in this model would be logical to place somewhat like this. But how can this arrangement be proved? It's stated in this principle that the subshells with lower value of n plus 1 will have lower energy and will be filled first. But exceptionally often we get to see that an electron is added to 5d orbital instead of 4f, which is seen in case of some transitional metals like copper, chromium. See over the screen for getting an idea, which violate this n plus 1 rule or Auerbach principle. To reduce the possible electrostatic repulsion in the same orbital, electrons are thought to have opposite spins, and that's why not more than 2 electrons can reside within the same home, that is orbital, and have also learned about it in my previous video, I think. Okay. We all know that electron of particular orbital are with same energy and are called degenerate. But sadly, no electron pairing takes place in the orbitals like the subshells of S, P, D and F until each of them contain one electron and the spin of any unpaired electron is parallel. I think this was kept to reduce to keep in mind about the electrostatic repulsion and keep the system of the atom to be stable by lowering energy. You should keep it in mind that we all love to remain stable in our life, isn't it? Now, if we base our ideas on this principle only, then remember, when different orbitals of some energy levels are half or less than half filled, then electrons should have parallel spins. Again, if we follow this principle, then stable configurations are those which with exactly half filled and full filled orbitals. But how is this stability explained? Interestingly, the electron present in different orbital of the same subshell can exchange their position. And this possible arrangement of electron after this position change can be determined by permutation concept. I think you have learned about permutation concept in I think class 11. Okay. This process lead to the release of energy and making the system stable. This is called exchange. What about symmetry? A subshell is more stable in its fully or half-filled configuration because simply they are symmetrically distributed in their orbitals. Okay, no other concept is there for this. But all these principles are based on some fundamental facts. Nuclear charge, principal quantum number, and the presence of electron in lower energy level. Suppose, take an example of lithium. Lithium is a very small atom. Okay, a lithium atom is there whose outermost electron can be extracted out to make it positively charged. Means cation. Okay, but have you ever imagined of taking out the electrons closer to the nucleus? If you have thought about it, I'm really grateful to you because here is one story to tell you. Okay, they cannot be extracted out easily and cannot participate in any chemical reaction. This is because of the nuclear force of attraction on those electrons, which eventually act as a shield. Yes, shield, to make the valence electron less attracted towards the nucleus. That means the valence electron can be extracted out easily as it has a little affinity for the nucleus for its shielding effect. And this is only called shielding or screening effect, and probably this is the prime cause for the periodic properties, rather periodicity in the properties. Now you are totally ready to deal with the periodic properties of the elements in the periodic table. Well, periodic table simply acts as a tool to determine the properties, but the secret lies in the atomic structure. We have previously discussed that two factors, atomic radius and nuclear charge, which determines these properties, leading to the variations in the properties like atomic volume, ionization potential, electron affinity, electronegativity, oxidizing and the reducing nature of an element, and literally many more. It's basically the ratio of the gram atomic weight of the element to its density. Lothar Meyer plotted an atomic volume of element graph against the atomic numbers, which led to some conclusions. Here comes a striking observation that lanthanoids do not show expected increase in the atomic volume, maybe because additional electron in them enter the inner n-2 F subshell, and due to the diffused shape of the F orbital, there is less shielding of outer electrons by the inner electrons. Therefore, the effective nuclear charge, that means the nuclear charge on the electron after considering shielding effect, electron repulsion, etc., increases and lead to the decrease in the atomic size, and their volume also decreases. So, in general, the volume increases almost regularly down the group due to the addition of shells, but there is no such hard and fast rule if observed across a period, because different elements can pack in different arrangements. Note that atomic volume is periodic property, but density is not. Now, I have discussed about atomic radius earlier in the previous video of periodic table, but here I am going to discuss about the difference when it becomes an atom and when it changes to ions. Okay, then what happens to the radius? Though we have a definition for atomic radius, but it cannot be measured accurately at any time, keeping in mind of the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and as we generally don't find a stray atom in the environment due to the effect of neighboring atom, and also the radius changes. So there is always a practice of measuring it with respect to other nearby atoms. But just a single electron can matter for the change in atomic size. Simply think of, say, NaCl. If Na loses an electron, then the effective nuclear charge over the 10 other electrons in sodium somewhat increases, and thus the size of the atom also shrinks, because the electron is being attracted towards the nucleus, and so that's why the orbitals are also shrinking. But for chlorine, it's just the opposite, as addition of one electron raises the repulsion among themselves. Thus, the nuclear charge cannot tackle all of them. So you can see that the normal property trained for atomic size is actually violated for being an ion. Here lies the difference. I'm not going to give you the definition and other bookish details because it's just a video, okay? And for that you have to go through the book once. An electron in atom is held by electrostatic force of attraction of the positively charged protons in the nucleus, which can be taken out by applying some energy. mostly in the forms of chemical reaction conditions. Okay, so this energy required for this purpose is ionization potential, or rather ionization enthalpy of an atom. So the energy required for extracting one and the first valence electron is known as the first ionization enthalpy. And accordingly, second and the third ionization enthalpy is there for an atom on consecutive extraction of the electron. Interestingly, first ionization potential is less than second, and so on, as after the extraction of first electron, the remaining electron face a lot more electrostatic attraction due to increased effective nuclear charge. Moreover, due to the shielding effect and less penetration of the outermost subshell, the valence electron is easier to extract out. So, across the period, ionization potential increases due to the increase in the nuclear charge and decrease down the group with the increase in atomic size. We can also visualize the property train by observing a particular plot which is shown in the screen. One thing to be noted about ionization potential is that atoms with stable electronic configuration will have a higher first ionization potential value, as they are not ready to give out electrons from their shell. Now, on the other hand, when an electron is added to otherwise a neutral atom, a certain amount of energy is released, which is referred to as the electron affinity or electron gain enthalpy of an atom. Basically, the electron affinity value indicates how tightly additional electron is bound to an atom. So, across the period, electron affinity increases due to the increase in the nuclear charge, as more electrons would be added if the proton number is increased. Down the group, it decreases as the increase in the atomic size predominates the nuclear charge. And in case of noble gas have zero electron affinity, as they have no tendency to accept electrons further. But there is an exception, though fluorine should have the highest electron affinity according to the periodic trend, but electron affinity for fluorine is less than that of the chlorine. But how? This is due to the crowd of the electrons in a very small atom, which cause electrostatic repulsion and thus reduce the chance of entry of the other electron. Now, this concept is very vast and probably the most important factor to understand different chemical bonding. So basically, again due to the combined effect of the factors like nuclear charge and atomic size, the atoms of an element show a relative tendency to attract the electrons involved in forming a bond. In case of covalent bond, the elements having high electronegativity withdraws the shared pair of electrons more towards itself. Just see in case of suppose hydrogen fluoride HNF, fluorine draws the shared pair towards itself, resulting in the partial positive charge on H atom and partial negative charge on the F atom. But it arises only when the difference in the different atoms are bond within a compound. Linus Pauling related the electronegativity difference two atoms according to which the formula was given. But they have no such fixed values. That's why it's important to determine the electronegativity difference. Actually, Linus Pauling also thought of random value for electronegativity of fluorine to determine the electronegativity of the other atoms with respect to fluorine. So, electronegativity difference is to be measured very minutely. So that we can get an idea how the chemical bond is going to occur. Electronegativity increases across the period due to the increase in the nuclear charge, ionization potential, electron affinity, that means all the cumulative effect of all these factors, but decreases down the group 1, 2 and 13 to 18, mainly because of its increase in the atomic size. But for group 3 to 12, the size may change variably. I think all the above mentioned periodic properties are enough to explain various trends in the chemical nature of an element, such as oxidizing and reducing property, metallic and non-metallic nature, and also other physical properties. But if you know the definition properly, then only you can determine all these things. Okay, let me give you a small hint about all these other characteristics. Like, oxidizing property is shown by one who has the ability to get reduced or accept electron, and just the reverse for reducing properties. Similarly, metals are the one to donate electrons easily, while non-metals accept it. Now you decide about the property traits of all these properties, all these mentioned properties. Okay. So that's all for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video, and also this topic was somewhat intermediate between two topics. Okay. If you have any query regarding this topic, then you can freely ask me in the comment section, and also you can freely approach me in the socials which are given in the description below. And also please like and share this video, and please subscribe the channel so that you can get the more videos, more upcoming videos over this channel, and also tap on the bell icon so that you can get aware of what I am posting. And as usual, thanks for watching.